Let your breathing slow, and let the whole of the day settle quietly behind you. There is nowhere you need to be tonight, and nothing left that you must solve. The tasks can wait. The thoughts can wait. For the next little while, you are simply going to rest and let yourself be carried, gently and without any effort at all, out past everything you know, into the vast and patient dark that holds our small world, our galaxy, and everything else there is. The universe. It has been unfolding for so long that no story could ever hold the whole of it, and it will go on unfolding, softly, long after this night has been forgotten. There is no hurry anywhere within it. There never has been. We will drift slowly, from one quiet fact to the next, 100 small wonders about the vast home that holds our small one. Some of them will feel almost too large to hold at first, and then settle, gently, into something soft and simple. Others may sound almost impossible, even though they are calmly, completely true. You do not need to hold on to any of them. You do not need to remember a single word. Let them pass through you the way starlight passes through an open window, touching you, warming you faintly, and then moving softly on. And whenever your eyes begin to feel heavy, let them close. You will miss nothing. The universe will keep unfolding whether you are watching or not, and it will hold you just the same. So settle into the most comfortable stillness you can find. Let your shoulders soften and drop. Let your jaw unclench and your hands grow loose and warm. And before we begin, take a moment simply to arrive here. Feel the weight of your body, held and supported, resting where it lies. Feel the places where you touch the bed, your head, your shoulders, your back, your legs, all of it gently held, all of it safe. There is nothing you need to carry now. Let the ground beneath you do the holding. Let your feet grow heavy and your legs grow heavy, and that heaviness rise slowly up through you, warm and soft, like a tide filling a quiet harbor, up through your hips, your chest, your arms, all the way to the crown of your head. Let your face soften. Let the small muscles around your eyes let go. And let each breath grow a little slower than the one before, without your forcing it at all, in and out and in and out, like the slow, patient turning of everything above you. Let us take a little while, before we begin, simply to let your body grow heavy. There is no need to hurry toward the stars. They have waited billions of years, and they will wait a few minutes more. So bring your gentle attention, first, all the way down to your feet. Feel them, wherever they rest. And let them soften completely, let go of every small holding in them, and let them grow warm, and heavy, and still. Now let that same soft heaviness rise slowly into your ankles, and your lower legs, and your knees, each part letting go as your attention passes over it, like warmth spreading slowly through cold hands held near a fire. Up into your thighs now, and your hips, all of it growing loose, and warm, and heavy, and sinking a little deeper into the bed. Let the softness rise now into your middle, your belly, rising and falling gently with each slow breath, your lower back, releasing, the whole center of you unclenching, and settling, and coming to rest. Let it spread up through your chest, and around to your shoulders, and let your shoulders drop, fully, away from your ears, heavier than they have been all day. Down your arms now, all the way to your fingertips, your upper arms, your elbows, your forearms, your hands, every finger growing warm and loose and still. There is nothing your hands need to hold now. Let them lie open and empty and at ease. And let the softness rise, last of all, into your neck and your throat and your face. Let your jaw come slightly apart so the small muscles there can rest. Let your cheeks soften. Let the space between your eyebrows grow smooth and wide. Let your eyes grow. Heavy in their sockets, so heavy that keeping them open begins to feel like far more effort than simply letting them close. And let the very crown of your head soften, so that from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, your whole body is warm and heavy and held and entirely at rest. There is nothing more you need to do now, and nowhere you need to go. From here on, you may simply listen, or you may drift. It makes no difference at all, and either way is perfectly right. If your mind wanders off somewhere among the galaxies, let it wander. You need not follow, and you need not call it back. And if, at any moment, sleep begins to reach for you, let it take you, without resistance and without regret. You will not miss anything that matters. The facts are only a soft path down into rest, and the moment you no longer need the path is the moment you have arrived. Take one slow breath in and let it go, and let us begin, without the smallest rush, at the very edge of everything that is, where the dark is old and gentle and entirely without end. Let us begin, gently, with the beginning itself, with the quiet truth that the universe you rest inside tonight had a starting point, long, long ago, and that it has been growing, ever since, in every direction at once. It is not the violent story its old nickname suggests. It is closer to something unfolding, slowly and endlessly, like a flower opening in impossibly slow motion over billions of years. We will start here, with the stretching itself, with space quietly growing between everything, while nothing at all is rushing anywhere. There is no need to picture an explosion, or a scattering, or anything sudden. Simply let the idea settle over you the way the dark settles over a room at the end of the day, everything, everywhere, slowly and gently growing more spacious, more open, more at ease, exactly as you might feel yourself growing more spacious and more at ease right now, breath by breath, as the day drains quietly away from you. Long, long ago, further back than any calendar could ever reach, everything that exists today, every galaxy, every star, every grain of dust, was gathered impossibly close together, in a single, searingly hot, searingly dense beginning. We call it the Big Bang, though the name suggests a noise and a violence that isn't quite right. There was no bang to hear, and nowhere outside it for a sound to travel. There was simply, all at once, everything, beginning. From that first warm instant, the whole of space began to grow, gently and continuously, carrying with it all the matter and all the light that would one day become galaxies, and stars, and small quiet worlds like ours. It is the oldest story there is, and yet it asks nothing frightening of you tonight. It is only a beginning, unfolding softly, the way every long and good story must begin somewhere, quietly, before anyone is there to notice. It helps, softly, to let go of one common picture, the idea of some ancient explosion, scattering matter out into a waiting, empty space. That is not quite what happened. There was no space waiting to receive anything, because space itself is what began, and what has been growing, ever since. Imagine a loaf of raisin bread, rising slowly in a warm oven. The raisins do not fly apart through the air, the dough between them simply swells, and carries every raisin a little further from every other. That is closer to the truth of it. Galaxies are not flying through space so much as being carried gently, as space itself quietly expands beneath and around and between them. Nothing is rushing away from a center. Everything is simply resting in a fabric that keeps, ever so slowly, growing wider. You, too, are simply resting tonight, carried gently by whatever holds you, with nothing at all that you need to do but let it carry you onward. For a long time we did not know that the universe was doing this at all, it seemed, to every eye that ever looked up, calm and fixed and still. It was only by watching the light of distant galaxies very carefully that we found the stretching hidden inside it. Light, like sound, can be stretched, and when it is stretched, it reddens, the way a passing sound deepens as it moves away from you. Astronomers found that the light from almost every distant galaxy was reddened in exactly this way, and that the more distant the galaxy, the more its light had been stretched. It was space itself, quietly lengthening the light's very long journey toward us, leaving its soft, red fingerprint on every beam that reached our eyes. A whisper, carried across billions of years, telling us, gently, that everything is spreading. Here is a thought worth resting in for a moment, because it is such a gentle one. There is no center to all this stretching, and no edge you could ever stand at and watch the rest rushing away. Wherever you happen to be in the universe, on our small world, or on some far and unknown one, circling some distant sun, the view would look the same. Every other galaxy would appear to be receding from you, in every direction, as though you were the very middle of everything. And that is not because you are special. It is because everyone, everywhere, sees exactly the same gentle scene. There is no favored point, no true center, no place from which the rest of the universe is fleeing. There is only the whole of space, evenly and patiently widening, everywhere at once, with no one left out and no one left behind. If we let the years run backward, gently, like a very long and very slow film reversed, the picture we find is a simple and consistent one. Everything grows closer together, the further back we look. Galaxies draw nearer to their neighbors. The vast spaces between them shrink. And further back still, before there were galaxies at all, the whole of what exists was hotter and denser and more crowded than any night sky we could ever imagine. It is not a frightening thought, held gently, it is simply the mirror image of the thought we started with, that everything is spreading out now, and so, naturally, it must have been closer together before. The film runs forward as easily as it runs backward, and either way, it tells the same soft story, a beginning, and then, patiently, room. There is a quiet symmetry in that, worth resting in for a moment, a story that reads just as gently forward as it does back. It may be a relief to know that not everything is stretching apart. Close to home, gravity is a far stronger hand than the slow pull of the expanding universe, and it holds its own gently together. Our galaxy is not expanding. Its stars are not slowly drifting apart from one another. Nor is our neighboring cluster of galaxies coming undone. Gravity, working patiently over vast distances, keeps whole galaxies and whole small groups of galaxies bound closely to one another, entirely unbothered by the wider stretching all around them. It is only out past those bound and gathered families, out in the enormous distances between one cluster of galaxies and the next, that the true widening becomes visible. Home holds together. It is only the space between homes that quietly, patiently grows. You, too, are held closely tonight by something far stronger than any wider drift, the simple, steady gravity of your own bed, your own room, your own gently gathered stillness. Once astronomers had found the stretching, they found something else hidden gently within it. The further away a galaxy is, the faster it appears to be receding from us. A galaxy twice as distant recedes very nearly twice as fast, one 3 times as distant, very nearly 3 times as fast. It sounds, at first, as though the far galaxies must be hurrying, while the near ones linger. But it is simpler and gentler than that. It is not that distant galaxies are racing away with any special urgency. It is only that there is so much more stretching space lying between us and them, more room, accumulating along every stretch of the way, so that their apparent speed grows evenly with distance, the way a rope pulled steadily at every point grows fastest at its farthest end. There is a soft number that describes how quickly space is widening, one that tells us, gently, that for every so many million light-years of distance, galaxies drift a little further apart, a little faster, with every passing year. It is a small, patient rate, nothing sudden or alarming, over any single lifetime, or any single civilization's whole existence. It changes almost nothing nearby at all. It only becomes vast when multiplied across the truly enormous distances of the universe, and across the truly enormous span of its years. Think of it as the gentlest of currents, moving so slowly that no swimmer would ever feel it pulling at their arms, and yet one that, given billions of years to work, can carry the furthest shores impossibly far apart. There is nothing here to measure or to hurry, simply let that gentle current carry you, too, a little further out towards sleep. We do not know, and may never know, whether the universe is infinite, stretching on forever in every direction without any edge at all, or whether it is simply very much larger than anything we could ever hope to see. Both possibilities are held quietly, side by side, by everything we have measured so far. What we do know is gentler, and perhaps more useful to rest in, that we can only ever see a certain part of it, the part whose old light has had time to reach us since the beginning, and that this seen part alone is already so vast that no mind was ever built to hold it comfortably. So we will not strain, tonight, to decide between infinite and simply enormous. We will let the question stay open, softly, the way the darkest and gentlest questions are allowed to stay open, unresolved, and entirely undisturbing. In the very first, unimaginably brief sliver of all this, a fraction of a single second, far too small for any clock to have measured, many scientists believe the universe underwent an extraordinary early stretch, ballooning outward faster, for that instant, than light itself could ordinarily travel. We call this inflation, and it may be the very reason the universe looks, today, so remarkably even and smooth in every direction we gaze. Whatever small differences existed before that stretch were smoothed out gently across the whole of space, the way a wrinkle disappears from a sheet pulled suddenly taut. It is a strange and delicate idea, still being tested and refined. But it offers, if you let it, a lovely image to hold as we drift onward, a universe, in its very first instant, softly and swiftly smoothing itself out, so that everything that came after could begin from a gentle and even place. And so we have felt, gently, the first and largest fact of all, that the universe is not fixed and not still, but spreading, slowly and endlessly, in every direction at once, with no center and no edge, and nothing at all to fear in any of it. Let that slow widening settle over you now, the way it settles over everything else. There is room enough in it for every star, and every galaxy, and every small worry you might still be carrying. Let the space around your own thoughts grow a little wider, too, and a little softer, and let whatever you are holding loosen gently, and drift outward, and dissolve. And let us turn now toward the very oldest light there is. Now let us drift back, gently, toward the very beginning of the light itself, toward a glow older than any star, older than any galaxy, the oldest light that anyone has ever detected. It is not a bright or dazzling light, not something that would ever catch your eye. It is faint, and even, and spread completely across the whole of the sky, in every direction you could ever look. And yet it carries, quietly folded within it, the memory of the universe's very first age. As we turn toward it, let your own memory of the day begin to fade in just the same gentle way, growing fainter, and more even, and less important, until it is simply a soft and distant glow behind you, no longer needing your attention at all. In the earliest age of the universe, everything was so hot and so tightly packed that light itself could not travel freely. It was trapped, endlessly scattering off the dense, hot fog of particles that filled all of space, the way a lamp's beam is trapped and scattered by a thick, close mist. There was light everywhere, and yet nowhere could it travel more than the shortest distance before being turned aside again. For a long stretch of the universe's youngest age, the whole of existence was, in this sense, glowing and blind at once, full of light, and yet utterly opaque, unable to let a single beam pass cleanly through. It is a strange thing to picture an entire infant universe, brilliant and fog-bound, waiting patiently for the mist to clear. There is no need to hurry that clearing along in your mind tonight. Simply let the fog sit softly, patiently, exactly where it is, and let yourself wait, just as calmly, for whatever comes. Then, after some 380,000 years, a long age by any ordinary measure, and yet only the very earliest sliver of the universe's whole life, everything had cooled enough for the fog to finally lift. The scattered particles settled quietly into atoms, mostly hydrogen, and space, all at once, everywhere, became clear. Light that had been trapped and bouncing since the very first instant was suddenly free to travel onward, unobstructed, in every direction, for as long as it liked. That release is the first light the universe ever let go completely, the very oldest glow that any instrument on Earth has ever managed to catch. It has been traveling, quietly and without interruption, ever since that clearing, all the way to this night, and to you. Imagine that single moment of release, everywhere at once, like an enormous, gentle exhale breathed out across the whole of space, the universe's first true breath, still traveling outward, softly, to this very hour. We call that ancient glow the cosmic microwave background, though the plain name hides how remarkable it is. It is, quite simply, the afterglow of the whole universe's youth, stretched and cooled by billions of years of the very expansion we spoke of a little earlier, until what was once a blinding, brilliant light has faded into the gentlest microwave hum, far too faint and far too soft for any human eye to notice unaided. And yet it is there, always, in every direction, filling the whole of the sky evenly, whether anyone is looking or not. It has simply been traveling, quietly, since almost the very beginning, waiting, patiently, for instruments delicate enough to finally catch it. This oldest light was found, in the end, almost by accident. Two researchers, working with a sensitive antenna meant for entirely ordinary purposes, kept picking up a soft, steady hiss of noise they could not explain, coming evenly from every direction of the sky, no matter which way they pointed their instrument. They checked for every ordinary cause they could think of, and cleared every one away, and still the gentle hiss remained. It took some while, and the quiet insight of other scientists working nearby, to realize what they had stumbled upon, not noise at all, but the oldest light in the universe, humming softly in the background of everything, exactly as it had been predicted to, waiting there all along for someone simply to notice it. There is something lovely in that quiet accident, that the oldest and gentlest signal in existence had been arriving patiently for billions of years, asking nothing, until two people happened to be listening closely enough to hear it. What is perhaps most remarkable about this ancient glow is how astonishingly even it is. Look toward it in one direction, and then in the exact opposite direction, and you will find it is, in nearly every way, the same gentle temperature, the same soft and even hum, to a precision so fine it is difficult to describe gently in words. The early universe, it turns out, was extraordinarily smooth, its heat and its matter spread almost perfectly evenly through every corner of space. There is something quietly reassuring in that thought, that everything, at the very beginning, before there were stars, or galaxies, or worlds, or watchers, started out in such close and gentle agreement with itself, evenly warm, evenly quiet, evenly at peace. You might let your own breathing settle into that same even, unhurried agreement now, one slow breath answering the last, each one just as calm as the one before. And yet, held within that vast smoothness, are tiny, gentle variations, differences in temperature so small they are measured in only the faintest fractions of a single degree. They sound almost too small to matter, and yet they are, in truth, the seeds of everything that followed. Wherever the ancient light was fractionally warmer, the matter nearby was fractionally denser, and over the many hundreds of millions of years that followed, gravity took hold of those tiny extra crowdings, and drew them slowly closer, and closer still, until they thickened into the first great clouds, and then the first stars, and then the first galaxies. Every great structure in today's universe, however vast, traces its beginning back to one of these smallest and gentlest of differences, sown quietly into the light at the very start. It is a soft reminder that even the tiniest and most easily overlooked beginnings can, given enough patient time, grow into something vast and lasting. To study this ancient glow closely, we have sent whole spacecraft out past our own atmosphere, carrying instruments delicate enough to map its faint variations across the entire sky. Each new mission has drawn a clearer, gentler picture than the one before, first a soft blur, and then a finer map, and then, in time, a picture so detailed it shows the faint imprint of those earliest seeds in exquisite, patient detail. Looking at one of those maps is a strange and quiet experience, a mottled, speckled portrait of warmth and coolness, every fleck of color marking where a future galaxy, or a future cluster of galaxies, would one day slowly gather and grow. It is, in the gentlest sense, a baby picture of everything, taken long before any of it had properly begun. Scientists have spent entire careers, patiently and lovingly, refining the smallest details of that single soft photograph, the way a parent might return, again and again, to study one cherished picture from the earliest days of a now grown child. This ancient light reaches us not from any single direction, the way starlight reaches us from a single distant point, but from every direction all at once, forming a kind of vast and gentle sphere around us, with our own small corner of space sitting quietly near its center. It is not that we are special, or that the light was aimed at us, it is only that this is the furthest, Oldest light. Our position in the universe allows us to see in every direction we look. Wherever any watcher happens to stand, in any galaxy, they would find their own version of this same ancient sphere, surrounding them just as gently. We are held, in a sense, inside a soft shell of the universe's oldest light, a shell with no edges we could ever touch, only the quiet and even glow of the beginning, wrapped all around us. Let that shell settle around you now, gently, the way the walls of your own room settle around you every night, holding you evenly, from every side at once. Because this light has been traveling for so unimaginably long, looking at it is very much like looking backward through the whole of time, almost, though never quite, all the way to the beginning itself. We cannot see further back than this, not because our instruments are too weak, but because further back, the universe was still that thick, hot fog, still opaque, still hiding everything behind it. This ancient light marks the very edge of what can never be seen, the oldest photograph the universe allows. Beyond it lies only the earlier darkness, unseen and unseeable, the fog before the clearing. But right up to that edge, patiently, gently, the picture is ours, held safely in this one soft and ancient glow. It is enough, tonight, to rest right at that gentle edge, without needing to see any further into the dark behind it. And so, in the end, this faint and even light becomes something worth carrying gently down into sleep, the knowledge that the universe kept, all along, a soft record of its own beginning, and let it travel outward, unhurried, for billions of years, so that it might finally arrive, tonight, everywhere at once, including here. It asks nothing of you. It explains nothing that needs to be understood right now. It only surrounds you, quietly, the way the dark surrounds your room, an old, even, patient glow, filling the whole of space, holding, somewhere within its gentle static, the very first afterglow of everything that would ever be. Rest inside that thought for a moment, the way you rest inside your own bed, entirely and safely held. We have found, now, the oldest light there is, the soft, even afterglow of the universe's first age, still humming quietly around us after all this time. There is something in its evenness worth keeping close as the night deepens, the sense that everything, at its beginning, was held in such close and gentle agreement, and that even the smallest differences, sown so softly into that first light, were enough, in time, to grow into everything that followed. Let your own small differences soften now, the way that ancient light has softened, cooling gently across billions of years into something no longer bright, only warm, and quiet, and easy to rest beneath. And let us drift on now, out to see what that first smoothness slowly grew into. Let us rise higher now, gently, above even the galaxies themselves, to look at the very largest patterns the universe has ever drawn. For galaxies, it turns out, are not scattered at random through the dark, the way sand might be scattered across a floor. They are gathered, softly, into shapes, into long, faint threads, and wide, gentle sheets, and enormous, hollow spaces between them, a great and quiet structure, larger than anything else there is. We will move slowly through it now, the way you might walk, at night, along the edge of some vast and half-seen shoreline, sensing more than seeing the shape of the land beyond. There is nothing here to hurry toward, and nothing to grasp too tightly. Simply let the pattern reveal itself, gently, the way a design in a dark room slowly becomes visible as your eyes adjust, asking nothing of you but patience. If you could rise high enough above the ordinary universe, high enough to see not single stars or single galaxies but whole gatherings of them at once, you would find that they are woven together into something like a vast, faint web, long filaments of galaxies, stretched like threads across unimaginable distances, crossing and joining at great, crowded knots, and surrounding, everywhere, wide and quiet empty spaces. It is called, gently and simply, the cosmic web, and it is the largest pattern the universe has ever arranged. Nothing built it on purpose. It grew, slowly, the way frost grows across a cold window, following its own quiet and patient rules, over billions of years, into a shape unlike anything found on any smaller scale. Let this whole chapter rise a little above the rest, the way a soft view from high above a sleeping city rises above its ordinary streets, everything smaller, softer, and strangely more peaceful from just a little further up. The threads of this web are called filaments, and they are almost too vast to hold in the mind gently, great, elongated gatherings of galaxies, stretched across hundreds of millions of light-years, like long and slender rivers of light flowing through the dark. Along their length, galaxies cluster more thickly than almost anywhere else, drawn together over unimaginable stretches of time by the patient pull of gravity, both their own and that of the vast unseen mass around them. From end to end, a single filament may hold thousands upon thousands of galaxies, strung loosely along its length like beads along a very long and very soft thread, glowing faintly, from end to end, in the enormous dark. There is no need to trace the whole length of any one of them in your mind, simply let the image of a long, soft, glowing river rest quietly somewhere behind your closed eyes. Where several of these great filaments meet and cross, they gather into enormous, crowded knots called clusters, vast congregations of galaxies, sometimes thousands of them together, bound loosely by gravity into a single, slow, drifting family. Our own small local group of galaxies is far too modest to be called a true cluster. We live, instead, on the gentler outskirts of the web, in a quieter thread reaching toward one of these grander gatherings. Within the great clusters themselves, galaxies drift and orbit one another for billions of years, bathed in vast, faint clouds of extremely hot gas that fill the space between them. They are, in their way, the great cities of the universe, crowded, warm, and slow, joined by long roads of galaxies reaching out into the quiet countryside beyond. And between the threads and the knots lie the voids, enormous, nearly empty regions of space, some of them hundreds of millions of light-years across, holding only the faintest scattering of galaxies, if any at all. They are the vast, quiet countryside of the universe, the wide open spaces between its cities and its roads. To stand, in imagination, at the very center of one of these voids would be to find yourself in one of the loneliest and stillest places the universe has to offer, a great hollow of dark and calm, with the nearest bright filament unimaginably far off in every direction. And yet even this emptiness is not truly empty, it is simply spacious, and quiet, and patient, the resting countryside that lets the crowded cities of the web stand out so clearly. Perhaps, tonight, you might borrow a little of that same restful spaciousness for yourself, the sense of a great, calm hollow, asking nothing, holding nothing but quiet. This whole grand pattern did not arrive ready-made. It grew, slowly and gently, out of the tiny differences we spoke of earlier, the faintest unevenness folded into the universe's oldest light. Wherever matter was fractionally denser, gravity drew in a little more, and then a little more again, over hundreds of millions of years, thickening some regions into filaments and clusters while others, fractionally emptier to begin with, grew emptier still, hollowing slowly out into voids. It is one of the most patient acts of building there has ever been, no single hand shaping it, no single moment of completion, only gravity, working quietly and endlessly on the smallest of beginnings, until an entire architecture of galaxies stood woven softly across the dark. Our own local group of galaxies is not lost or unattached within this web. It belongs, gently, to a much larger structure of its own, a vast gathering of galaxy clusters and filaments given the name Laniakea, a word that means, fittingly, something like immeasurable heaven. Laniakea stretches across many hundreds of millions of light-years, and everything within it, including our own small Milky Way, drifts slowly together, drawn by the joined gravity of the whole enormous structure, toward a distant, gentle gathering point far off in the depths of space. We are not adrift alone in the dark. We belong, quietly, to an immeasurable heaven of our own, moving together with countless other galaxies, unhurried, toward the same soft and distant center. It is a lovely name to rest with tonight, an immeasurable heaven, and our own small galaxy simply one quiet guest within it. It is worth resting, for a moment, in just how large the largest filaments of this web truly are. Some stretch across so great a distance that light itself, the fastest thing there is, would need many hundreds of millions of years simply to travel from one end to the other. A single filament may be 100 times wider than our entire galaxy is across, and hold within it thousands of galaxies, each themselves containing hundreds of billions of stars. There is no need to hold the arithmetic of that too tightly. Simply let the scale of it settle softly over you, structures so vast that our whole galaxy, which once felt so large to us, is only the faintest, smallest thread within a single strand of something very much larger. And yet even that smallest thread was large enough to hold everything you have ever known, and everyone you have ever loved. We have never seen this web directly with our own eyes, not the way we might see a spider's web glistening with morning dew. We have built it, patiently, out of many hundreds of thousands of careful measurements, each one marking the position of a single galaxy in the dark, until enough of them together reveal the pattern joining them all. Great surveys of the sky, carried out over decades, have mapped the positions of galaxy after galaxy after galaxy, slowly filling in the picture the way a puzzle is filled in one gentle piece at a time. And when enough pieces were finally in place, the shape that emerged was this one, not a scattering, but a web, filaments and voids together, exactly as gravity, working patiently since the beginning, had quietly arranged. Generation after generation of patient astronomers added their own small handful of measurements to that slowly growing map, each one content simply to add their quiet piece before passing the work along. We have also learned to build this web again, gently, inside great computer simulations, vast, patient calculations that begin with the same faint unevenness found in the universe's oldest light, and then let gravity do, in accelerated and imagined time, what it has truly been doing for billions of real years. And when these simulations are run, the same great pattern appears, unbidden, filaments, and knots, and voids, arranging themselves in strikingly similar shape to what our surveys have found in the real sky above us. It is a quiet and comforting kind of confirmation that the pattern is not an accident of our particular corner of space, but the natural, patient outcome of gravity's work, wherever and whenever it is given enough time to unfold. And so the whole visible universe, at its very largest scale, resolves into this one soft and steady image, a web of light, woven slowly across the dark by nothing more than gravity and time, its filaments crowded with galaxies, its voids wide and quiet and calm, our own small galaxy caught somewhere along one gentle thread, moving softly together with its neighbors toward a distant center none of us will ever truly reach. There is no chaos in it, in the end, however vast and strange it first appears. There is only pattern, patiently grown, exactly the way frost finds its shape upon a window, or a river finds its bed upon the land, quietly, gradually, and without any need to hurry. We have traveled now to the very largest architecture there is, the great and patient web of galaxies, its threads and its knots and its wide, quiet voids, grown slowly out of the smallest of beginnings. There is a gentle lesson worth keeping, as we drift on, that even the vastest patterns are built the same way sleep is built, tonight, not all at once, not by force, but slowly, gently, out of small and patient gatherings, given enough time and enough quiet to settle into their true shape. Let your own thought settle now the way the web settled, into softer and softer patterns, needing nothing from you but time. And let us drift on, further still, among the countless galaxies that fill it. Let us slow down now, and look more closely at the galaxies themselves, not the great web they are woven into, but the single, glowing islands that make it up, each one holding its own uncounted multitude of stars. There are more of them, we now know, than anyone once dared to guess, filling every direction we have ever cared to look, in every kind of shape a slowly turning cloud of stars can take. As we move gently among them, there is no need to count, or to sort, or to remember any single one. Simply let them drift past you the way lantern-lit boats drift past a dark shore at night, each one glowing softly for a moment, and then passing on, leaving only a faint and pleasant afterglow behind. For the whole of human history, before only the last handful of generations, we believed our own galaxy was the entire universe, the one and only island of stars there was, surrounded by nothing but empty dark. It took patient work, and finer instruments, to discover that certain faint, fuzzy smudges of light in the sky were not clouds of gas within our own galaxy at all, but entire other galaxies, impossibly distant, each one a whole separate gathering of billions of stars. It was one of the gentlest and most humbling discoveries ever made, that our galaxy, which had felt like the whole of everything, was only one island among countless others, scattered through a far larger sea than anyone had ever imagined. It is a gentle kind of humility to carry down into sleep the sense that even our whole galaxy was only ever one small island among so very many. Once that first discovery was made, the count began to grow, quietly and steadily, year after year, telescope after telescope. Today we believe there are hundreds of billions of galaxies within the part of the universe we can see, and quite possibly many more still hidden beyond the reach of our instruments. Each one of those hundreds of billions holds, in turn, its own hundreds of billions of stars. The arithmetic of it grows too large to hold in any comfortable way, and there is no need to try. Simply let the number rest there, softly, as an image rather than a sum, an ocean of light, island beyond island beyond island, stretching farther than any eye, or any patience, could ever follow. There is no rush to count them all tonight, or ever. It is enough simply to know that the ocean is there, wide and gentle and endlessly starlit. Galaxies, it turns out, do not all share one shape. Some are great spirals, like our own, with graceful curving arms winding out from a bright central bulge, slowly turning like enormous pinwheels of light. Others are ellipticals, smooth, rounded gatherings of stars with no arms at all, glowing softly and evenly, like a faint and gentle cloud of fireflies caught in a single, quiet breath. And others still are irregular, with no settled shape whatsoever, twisted gently out of true by some ancient, slow encounter with a passing neighbor. There is no single correct way for a galaxy to be. The universe, across its whole long history, has simply tried nearly every shape a gathering of stars could take, and kept them all. There is a gentle freedom in that thought, that there was never only one correct shape for something so vast and so lovely to take. Some of the most patient and moving discoveries came from pointing a telescope, for many long nights together, at a tiny, seemingly empty patch of sky, a patch so small and so apparently blank that many doubted it was worth the time at all. And yet, when the faint light had gathered long enough, that empty patch resolved into thousands upon thousands of distant galaxies, layered one behind another into the deep past, filling a sliver of sky no larger than a grain of sand held at arm's length. It was a gentle lesson, repeated since in other quiet corners of the sky, that wherever we look long enough, and patiently enough, the apparent emptiness gives way, softly, to more galaxies than anyone could ever finish counting. It took a very long, very patient look to see it, the same kind of patient looking that, eventually, always leads toward rest. Galaxies vary enormously in size, just as they vary in shape. There are dwarf galaxies, modest and faint, holding only a few million stars, quietly orbiting larger companions the way small moons orbit a larger world. And there are giant ellipticals, vast beyond easy imagining, holding many trillions of stars within a single softly glowing form, often found at the crowded hearts of great galaxy clusters. Between these two extremes lies every size in between, a whole gentle spectrum of galactic scales, each one home to its own countless suns, its own countless possible worlds. Size, here, is simply another kind of variety, one more way the universe has found to arrange its light. A small, faint dwarf galaxy is no less complete, in its own quiet way, than the largest giant, simply a smaller verse in the very same long and patient song. Galaxies are not always solitary, keeping politely to themselves across the ages. Every so often, two of them drift close enough that their mutual gravity begins, slowly, to pull them together. Over hundreds of millions of years, their stars swirl and stretch into long, faint bridges and tails of light, and the two galaxies gradually merge into one, a slow and graceful process, far too gentle and far too gradual for any single star within them ever to be harmed. We can see many such mergers caught mid-embrace across the sky tonight, their shapes softly distorted, still years and years away from settling into their final, single form. It is a slow dance, this merging, unfolding across a span of time too long for any one lifetime to witness from beginning to end. Even galaxies, it seems, prefer to take their time when coming together, letting the whole slow embrace unfold at exactly its own gentle pace. The elliptical galaxies, in particular, are often thought of as the elders of the galactic family, quieter, redder, and generally holding fewer of the young, blue, short-lived stars found so often in the spirals. Many ellipticals are themselves the settled result of ancient mergers, their original spiral shapes long since stirred and smoothed away into a single, calm, rounded glow. They no longer make many new stars, their great reserves of gas were mostly used up, or scattered, long ago. They simply drift now, gently and steadily, holding their ancient light, glowing softly on through the ages like embers that have settled after a long and busy fire, calm now, and slow, and entirely at peace with their own quiet age. There is something to envy, gently, in that settled peace, a whole galaxy, content simply to glow softly on, with nothing left to prove. The irregular galaxies, by contrast, where their disturbance is more visibly twisted, asymmetrical, often bright with new star formation stirred up by some more recent gravitational encounter. They lack the tidy symmetry of a spiral or the calm roundness of an ellipse, and yet there is a kind of beauty in that very unruliness, a reminder that not everything need be neat in order to be lovely. Many small irregular galaxies drift as companions around larger ones, tugged gently out of any settled shape by their neighbor's steady pull, glowing on regardless, unconcerned with symmetry, simply continuing to make their light in whatever shape the passing centuries have left them. There is something almost comforting in their untidiness, proof that a thing can be pulled a little out of shape and still shine on exactly as brightly as before. For all their overwhelming number, the vast majority of galaxies are far too faint and far too distant ever to be seen without a patient telescope and a long, careful exposure. The night sky, to the unaided eye, seems to hold only stars and a faint scattering of nearby smudges, and yet behind every patch of apparent darkness, galaxy upon galaxy is quietly glowing, simply too dim and too far for our eyes alone to catch. It is worth remembering, as you look up on some ordinary night, the darkness between the visible stars is not truly empty. It is filled, softly and invisibly, with countless further islands of light, patiently waiting for eyes, or instruments, delicate enough to notice them. Even the darkest patch of an ordinary sky, it turns out, is quietly and generously full. In recent years, newer and more sensitive telescopes, lifted high above our atmosphere and tuned to catch the faintest and most stretched light there is, have looked even deeper into that same seemingly empty patch of sky, and found galaxies fainter and further away still, some of them so distant that their light set out only a few 100 million years after the very beginning. Each new telescope we send upward seems only to draw the curtain a little further back, revealing a little more of the same soft and generous abundance. Each new instrument we build seems only to reveal more galaxies, never fewer, stretching the count outward and outward again. There may be no true end to it that we will ever find, only ever more islands of light, waiting quietly in the dark for a patient enough eye to finally arrive and see them. It is a gentle kind of abundance, this, the sense that no matter how deeply we look, there is always a little more waiting softly beyond. And so we find, wherever we look long and patiently enough, more galaxies than we ever expected, spirals and ellipses and irregular shapes, merging and aging and glowing on, filling every corner of the dark that our instruments have ever reached. There is no need to hold their number, only the soft and settled feeling of it, an ocean of islands, each one home to its own countless stars, stretching farther than sight or thought can follow. Let that abundance rest gently over you now, the way a great and gentle crowd of distant lights might rest over a sleeping town. And let us drift back now, and try to feel, softly, just how large it all truly is. Now let us try, very gently, to feel the size of everything we have seen tonight, not to measure it exactly, for no mind was ever built to hold such measurements comfortably, but simply to let the scale of it wash over us, softly, the way the sound of the ocean washes over someone standing at its edge in the dark. We will not strain toward any of these numbers. We will let them arrive gently, and settle for only a moment, and then dissolve, the way each wave arrives and settles and dissolves back into the sea. There is nothing here to grasp. There is only bigness, offered softly for you to rest inside. The part of the universe we are able to see at all, what astronomers call the observable universe, is already a sphere so vast that light itself, traveling without pause since the very beginning, has covered a distance of many tens of billions of light years just to cross it. It sounds, at first, larger than the age of the universe itself would seem to allow, and in a strange and gentle way, it is, because while that ancient light has been traveling toward us, the space it was crossing has itself been quietly stretching, carrying the far edges of that sphere even further away than the light's own long journey would suggest. It is a large and curious idea, and there is no need to master it fully tonight. Simply let it rest as an image, an enormous, softly expanding sphere, and us, quietly, near its center. There is no need to check the arithmetic of it before you sleep. The image alone is enough, a great, soft sphere, gently swelling, with you held quietly and safely somewhere near its heart. It helps, gently, to remember that looking far away and looking far back in time are, in this universe, the very same thing. Light takes time to travel, however fast it goes, and so the further away something is, the older the light reaching us from it must be, which means we are not seeing the distant place as it is now, but only as it once was, long ago, when its light first set out. Every glance outward is also a glance backward. The whole visible sky, in this sense, is a great gallery of old photographs, each one taken at a different moment in the deep past, hung together, side by side, across the dark, for us to wander through quietly tonight. Even the softest, faintest star you might imagine tonight is really only a memory, arriving gently, long after the moment it was made. So the sphere of the observable universe is not, in truth, a single moment frozen in place. It is a nested set of ages, led gently around us like the rings inside an old and patient tree. Look only a little way out, and you see galaxies nearly as they are today. Look further, and you see them as they were when the Earth had not yet formed. Look further still, and you reach back before there were any galaxies at all the way to that oldest, faint, even light we spoke of earlier. We stand, in a sense, at the very center of the deepest photograph album there has ever been, with every direction we look opening onto a slightly different and slightly older page. You need not turn a single page tonight. It is enough simply to know the whole soft album surrounds you, closed and gentle and complete. And here is a gentle point worth holding closely. Being at the center of what we can see does not mean we are at the center of everything that is. Every observer, anywhere in the universe, would find themselves at the center of their own observable sphere, for the simple reason that this is only ever the part whose light has had time to reach them. It says nothing at all about our importance or our position in the wider whole. It only describes the size of our particular window. There may be far more universe stretching on beyond that window, in every direction, than we will ever have the chance to see, quietly out there, unseen, and entirely unconcerned with our watching. In fact, there is very likely a great deal more universe than we can ever observe, lying just beyond the reach of our light-based window, forever out of sight, not because it does not exist, but because its light, however old, has simply not yet had the time to complete its long journey to us. Some of it, if the universe keeps expanding as it has, never will arrive at all. The space between us and it may be growing faster than any light could ever cross. It is a strange and gentle kind of limit, not a wall, not an edge, just a horizon, drawing itself quietly around us the way the edge of sight draws itself around a ship at sea, with the sea itself continuing on, calmly, past where any eye could follow. There is no need to strain toward that far horizon tonight. Let it stay exactly where it is, softly out of reach, asking nothing of you. To feel the scale of even a single galaxy is already a great deal to ask of the mind, and our whole observable universe holds hundreds of billions of them, each full of hundreds of billions of stars, spread across a sphere so wide that its whole diameter is measured not in millions, but in tens of billions of light-years. If you tried to picture it as a single object, held at arm's length, you would find that no ordinary object could ever serve. The scale slips gently out of reach of any comparison at all. And that is, in its own way, perfectly all right. Some things are simply meant to be felt as an impression rather than held as an exact picture, a vastness, warm and soft at its edges, rather than a shape you could ever quite outline. And within all of that vastness, matter itself, stars, and planets, and galaxies, and every gathering of light we have spoken of tonight, turns out to be remarkably rare. If you could spread the whole of the universe's matter evenly through all of its space, the average would come to only the barest whisper of substance per enormous stretch of emptiness, a handful of atoms scattered across a room the size of a small country. The universe, for all its galaxies, is overwhelmingly, restfully empty. It is not a crowded place at all, but a spacious one, its rare and precious light drifting through an ocean of quiet, gentle, undisturbed dark. Even the busiest seeming stretch of sky, seen truly, is mostly soft and roomy silence, with only the gentlest sprinkling of anything at all. It can help, gently, to reach for the smallest of comparisons in order to hold the largest of scales, even knowing the comparison will always fall a little short. If our whole sun were shrunk down to the size of a single grain of sand, our galaxy, at that same scale, would stretch wider than a continent, and the observable universe, at that very same tiny scale, would still be far too vast to draw on any map we could ever hold. The comparison breaks, eventually, the way every comparison to something this large eventually breaks. But for just a moment, before it breaks, it offers a soft and useful feeling, layer upon layer upon layer of bigness, each one dwarfing the one before it, gently, without end. Let the comparison break gently, without concern, the way a soap bubble breaks, pleasant while it lasted, and needing nothing further of you now. No one has ever found an edge to any of this, no wall marking where the universe stops, no boundary where the galaxies simply cease. Wherever our instruments have looked, in every direction, there has only ever been more universe, more galaxies, fainter and further, all the way out to the oldest light there is. Whether that means the universe truly has no edge at all, or only that its true edge, if one exists, lies far beyond anything we could ever hope to see, we cannot yet say. Either way, the feeling it leaves is a gentle and spacious one, a universe with room enough, in every direction, for far more than we could ever finish exploring, stretching outward, softly, without a single wall in sight. There is a quiet comfort in a space with no wall to bump against, only openness, gently continuing, in every direction you could ever choose to look. So when you look up, on any clear night, understand that you are looking into a vast and layered gallery of the past, wrapped gently around you on every side, further than thought can comfortably follow, and yet somehow, still, entirely calm. There is no need to hold its size exactly. There is only the soft and settled feeling of it, an enormous, softly expanding sphere of space and time, and you, resting quietly, somewhere near its gentle center, wrapped in layer after layer of old and patient light, needing to understand none of it in order to be safely, softly held by all of it. We have tried, now, to feel the size of everything, not to measure it, only to let it wash over us, gently, the way the size of the sea washes over someone standing quietly at its shore. There is nothing to hold on to in numbers this large, and so, kindly, nothing is asked of you. Let the vastness simply settle, the way water settles once poured, finding its own quiet level around you. You do not need to understand your own smallness in order to feel safe within it. Smallness, held gently, is not a diminishment at all, but a kind of rest. And let us turn now toward the parts of all this bigness that we cannot see at all. Now we come to one of the deepest and quietest wonders of the whole universe, the parts of it that give off no light at all, and yet which hold nearly everything together. For everything we have seen so far, all the stars and all the galaxies and all their gathered light, turns out to be only a small fraction of what truly exists. Around and through it all lies something vast and dark and silent, quietly shaping the whole of the cosmic web and quietly stretching the whole of space between the galaxies. There is a strange comfort in this, as you drift further down, the knowledge that so much of what holds the universe together is unseen and gentle and everywhere, and that you, too, are held by forces you were never able to see every single night of your life. When astronomers carefully weigh the galaxies, not with scales, but by watching how fast their stars move and how strongly their gravity bends the light of things behind them, they find, again and again, that there is far more mass there than all the visible stars and glowing gas could ever account for. Something unseen, giving off no light of its own, must be filling the space within and around every galaxy, holding it together with a grip far stronger than its visible matter alone could ever provide. We have given this unseen presence a plain and honest name, dark matter, though the truth is we still do not know, with any certainty, what it actually is. We know only that it is there, and that it is vast, and that without it, the galaxies as we know them could never have held their shape at all. It asks nothing of us in return for this quiet holding, no thanks, no attention, only the steady work of keeping everything gently in its place. The clue that first revealed this hidden presence came from something quite gentle, the speed of stars circling at the outer edges of their galaxies. By the visible matter alone, those distant stars should have been moving slowly, loosely held, easily flung away into the dark. And yet they were found circling swiftly and steadily, as though gripped by far more gravity than the visible stars and gas could ever supply. Something unseen was holding them close. It was a quiet clue, hidden in nothing more dramatic than the ordinary motion of stars, and yet it opened a door onto one of the largest mysteries the universe still holds, a mystery we are, even now, only beginning to gently understand. It is a reminder that even the smallest, most ordinary observation, simply how fast something moves, can, if you look closely enough, open onto an entire hidden universe. We have also learned to see this unseen mass indirectly, through the way it bends the light of far more distant galaxies passing behind it, a gentle effect called gravitational lensing, in which the space around a massive, unseen clump is warped just enough to curve and smear the light traveling through it, the way a lens curves light passing through glass. By studying these soft distortions, astronomers have been able to map out where the dark matter must be gathered, even though it remains, itself, entirely invisible. It is a beautiful kind of detective work, reading the bent and smeared light of the far background to sense the shape of an unseen foreground, the way you might infer the shape of a hidden stone beneath a stream by watching how gently the water curls around it. There is something soothing in that image, a whole hidden landscape, sensed only by the gentlest of curls in the water passing over it. By our best and most careful estimates, this unseen dark matter makes up far more of the universe's total mass than all the ordinary matter, the atoms of stars, and planets, and people, combined. Ordinary matter, the stuff of every star and every galaxy we can see with any of our instruments, turns out to be only a small and modest fraction of the whole. The greater share belongs to this quiet, invisible presence, spread all through the cosmic web, gently shaping its filaments and its clusters from within. It is a humbling thought to rest in, that most of the true architecture of the universe is built from something we have never once seen directly, only felt, softly, through its patient and constant pull. Dark matter, it turns out, is not merely scattered evenly through space, it gathers, gently and slowly, into vast unseen structures of its own, great invisible halos surrounding every galaxy, and enormous unseen scaffolds threading along every filament of the cosmic web. In many ways, it was the dark matter's own quiet gravity that first gathered the ordinary matter into stars and galaxies at all, providing the unseen frame around which the visible universe could slowly assemble itself, the way a trellis, hidden beneath the leaves, quietly holds the whole shape of a climbing vine. The web of light we spoke of earlier rests upon a deeper, invisible web of dark matter, holding its shape, unseen, from underneath. Alongside this unseen matter lies something stranger still, a second mystery, discovered only in recent decades, when astronomers studying the light of very distant exploding stars found that the universe's expansion is not merely continuing, but quietly accelerating, growing a little faster with each passing age rather than gradually slowing as gravity alone would suggest. Something is pushing space apart, gently and steadily, working against the pull of gravity itself. We have given this second unseen presence a name as plain and honest as the first, dark energy. And though we understand it even less than we understand dark matter, we have learned that it appears to make up the largest share of everything that exists. It was a quiet surprise to nearly everyone who found it, and it remains, gently, one of the largest open questions science still holds. If we imagine the whole of the universe as one great pool of everything there is, ordinary matter, every star, every galaxy, every small warm world including our own, fills only the smallest and most modest measure of it. Dark matter fills a far larger share still. And dark energy, that gentle and mysterious pressure quietly stretching space itself, fills the largest measure of all. It is a strange thing to hold gently as you drift towards sleep, that the stars above you, and the whole bright web of galaxies, and everything you have ever loved or touched or known, belongs to only the smallest sliver of everything that is. And yet that smallest sliver has been enough for stars, and worlds, and you. There is no need to feel diminished by that smallness. A single candle is a small thing too, and still it is enough to light an entire quiet room. We do not know, in any deep sense, what dark energy truly is. Some believe it may be a simple property of empty space itself, that space, even when holding nothing at all, carries a small and constant pressure pushing gently outward, growing stronger only because there is more space, now, for it to act upon. Others wonder if it may be something stranger still, changing subtly across the history of the universe in ways we have not yet detected. It remains one of the deepest open questions there is, and there is no need to resolve it tonight, or ever, in order to rest easily beneath it. Some mysteries are simply large enough to hold, gently, without needing to be solved. You may set this one down exactly where you found it, unopened, and let it wait patiently for some other night, or for no night at all. And yet, for all their mystery, both of these unseen presences behave with remarkable gentleness and consistency. Dark matter has quietly held the galaxies together for billions of years, never once causing them any harm, only cradling their stars in stable, patient orbits. Dark energy has quietly stretched the space between the galaxies, slowly and evenly, never once tearing at anything nearby, never once disturbing a single star's rest. Whatever these unseen things truly are, they have behaved, across the whole of cosmic history, exactly the way the best and gentlest of unseen forces behave, reliably, patiently, and without any need to announce themselves. So perhaps the gentlest way to hold all of this, as the night deepens, is simply this, that you have always been held by forces you cannot see, in ways too quiet and too constant ever to notice. The floor beneath your bed holds you up through a force whose deepest nature we still do not fully understand. The air that fills your lungs is made mostly of empty space between invisible atoms. And the very universe around you, tonight, is shaped and stretched by unseen matter and unseen energy, quietly doing their patient work in the dark, asking nothing of you, and offering, in return, the whole stable architecture in which every star, and every galaxy, and every small sleeping world has ever found its place. You do not need to see what holds you, tonight, in order to trust that you are held. We have felt, now, the deep and unseen presence that fills and shapes the whole universe, the dark matter cradling every galaxy, the dark energy quietly stretching the space between them, both still largely mysterious, and both, in their own patient way, gentle. Let yourself be held in just that way now, by everything you cannot see, the bed beneath you, the dark around you, the quiet unseen forces that have always, without fail, kept you safe. There is nothing more to understand here tonight, only something to trust. Let the unseen hold you fully now. And let us turn back toward deep time, to feel how long all of this has been quietly unfolding. Let us slow down further now, and turn our attention not to the size of the universe, but to its age, to the enormous, patient span of years across which everything we have spoken of tonight has quietly unfolded. 13.5 billion years, and more, of slow and steady becoming, with no rush anywhere inside it, and no deadline it was ever working toward. As we move gently through that vast timeline, there is no need to hold any single date in mind. Let the years blur softly together, the way the pages of a very long and very calm book blur together when you page through it slowly, near the end of a long and drowsy evening, simply enjoying the weight of it in your hands. There is no test at the end of this chapter, and nothing you need to remember, only a long, slow story, gently told, for you to rest inside. The universe, by our most careful measurements, is a little under 14 billion years old, old enough that the number itself becomes difficult to hold as anything but an idea. If you tried to walk through the whole of that history one ordinary year at a time, you would need many, many more lifetimes than have ever been lived by any single creature, human or otherwise. And yet the universe has done this quietly, without any sense of strain or hurry, simply continuing, year after year, for that entire immense stretch, and continuing still, tonight, exactly as patiently as ever. Age, on this scale, stops being a weight to carry and becomes, instead, a kind of calm, the reassurance of something that has never once needed to rush. Let that same unhurried calm settle over your own night now, however old or young the day behind you may have felt. In the very earliest fraction of a second, before there were atoms, before there was even light as we would recognize it, the universe passed through several brief and extraordinary stages, impossibly hot, impossibly dense, its most basic building blocks still settling into the forms we know today. It is not a stage of history you or I could ever picture directly, having no true comparison anywhere in ordinary experience. But it need not be pictured to be trusted. It is enough to know that everything, once, was very young and very strange, and that it settled, patiently, stage by stage, into calmer and gentler forms, the way a held breath settles, eventually, into slow and even breathing. You might let your own breath do exactly that now, one small, private echo of the universe's very own first calming. Within the first few minutes of all existence, while the universe was still hot enough for it, the very lightest elements were forged directly from the raw material of the beginning, mostly hydrogen, and a good measure of helium, with only the faintest trace of anything heavier. This brief, ancient process is sometimes called the universe's first cooking, though it lasted only minutes before the heat had faded too far for it to continue. Nearly everything heavier than these first light elements, the carbon, the oxygen, the iron that would one day matter so much to us, would have to wait, patiently, for stars to be born, and to live, and to die, before it could ever be made at all. It is a strange thought to hold gently, that the whole rest of cosmic chemistry, everything you are made from, had to wait for that first brief, busy minute to finish, and cool and quiet down. For a long stretch after that first brief cooking, many hundreds of millions of years, the universe held no stars at all. It was a long, quiet, dark age, mostly hydrogen and helium, drifting slowly through a still nearly featureless dark, waiting, patiently, for gravity to gather it into something brighter. There is something soothing in picturing that long, unlit stretch, an infant universe, still and dim, in no hurry to light itself, taking its time gathering its first gentle clumps of gas before daring to kindle its very first stars. Nothing was rushed in all that darkness. Nothing needed to be. Even the universe itself, it seems, needed a long, unhurried rest in the dark before it was ready to shine. Then, gradually, the very first stars began to shine, enormous, brilliant, and short-lived, forged from gas holding almost none of the heavier elements that would later be so common, and burning fiercely and quickly before ending in great and ancient explosions. We call this era the cosmic dawn, and it marks the moment the universe's long, patient dark finally gave way to its first true light. It happened, by our best estimate, only a few 100 million years after the very beginning, an achingly short time, in truth, for a universe already so young to muster its very first flame. Picture that first dawn, gently, the way you might picture any ordinary sunrise, except that this one broke, for the very first time, over the whole of everything at once. As those first stars lived and died, they seeded the space around them with the very first heavier elements the universe had ever known, and their fierce early light began, slowly, to change the gas that filled the space between the earliest galaxies, clearing it gradually until light could travel more and more freely across greater and greater distances. This long, gentle clearing is called reionization, and it unfolded gradually over many hundreds of millions of years, like fog lifting slowly from a valley over the course of an entire unhurried morning, letting more and more of the young universe's light shine clearly through as the ages passed. It is a lovely thing to picture as your own eyes grow heavier, an entire universe, ever so slowly, learning to let its own light through. Our own sun, and our own small solar system, did not arrive until a great deal later still, not until the universe was already more than 9 billion years old, meaning that more than 2/3 of all cosmic history had already passed before our own particular corner of it ever began to take shape. Countless generations of earlier stars had already lived, and shone, and died, seeding space with the elements that would, eventually, become us, long before our sun ever gathered itself out of its own quiet cloud of gas. We are, in every sense, latecomers to a very long and very patient story, arriving only after so much had already, gently, come before. There is no shame in arriving late to so long and so patient a story. It only meant there was more, by then, already gently prepared and waiting. And Earth itself is younger still, forming only around 4.5 billion years ago, out of the leftover gas and dust surrounding our newly lit Sunday. Life upon it took a good while longer to begin, and human beings later still, appearing only in the most recent, thinnest sliver of that already late arrival. If the whole history of the universe were stretched out into a single, quiet year, human beings would not appear until the very last moments of the very last day, long after nearly everything else had already, patiently, taken its place. We are the youngest of latecomers, arriving at the very end of an impossibly long and gentle story. And yet, being so very late, we arrived just in time to look back over the whole of it, and to rest, tonight, beneath everything that came before us. And yet there is nothing at all diminishing in arriving so late. Quite the opposite, it means that by the time we came to exist at all, the universe had already had the immense patience to forge the very elements our bodies are made from, to cool and settle enough for stable stars and stable worlds, to spend billions of years quietly preparing conditions gentle enough for something like us to arise and wonder at it. Our lateness is not a small place in the story. It is, in its way, the reward of everything that came before, the long, unhurried preparation finally, quietly, paying off. Think of tonight, then, not as a small and late arrival, but as the patient culmination of everything the universe has ever carefully done. So when you consider deep time tonight, let it settle over you not as a weight, but as reassurance, the knowledge that everything unfolds, in the end, exactly as slowly and as patiently as it needs to, and that nothing in this vast history was ever rushed, or forced, or hurried toward its ending before it was ready. The universe took its full and unhurried time to become everything it is. You may take yours, too, tonight, to become simply, softly, asleep, with no more urgency than the ancient stars once needed to kindle their first light, and no less patience, either. There is no clock here that matters, and no schedule to keep, only the same slow, generous patience that built everything else. We have walked, now, through the long and patient timeline of everything, the first fractions of a second, the long dark age, the first stars, the late and gentle arrival of our own small corner of it all. There is a deep calm in that unhurried pace, worth carrying further down with you now. Nothing in this story was ever forced, and nothing arrived before its true time. Let your own night follow that same unhurried timeline, no part of it rushed, each stage settling gently into the next, all of it arriving exactly when it is ready to. Sleep, too, will arrive exactly when it is ready, and not one moment before, and there is nothing at all you need to do to hurry it along. And let us turn now to see what all that deep time was quietly building. Let us look now at one of the gentlest and most remarkable facts of the whole night, the slow, patient way the universe built everything you are made of, out of nothing more than the first, simplest elements, given enough time and enough starlight to work with. It is a story of quiet chemistry unfolding across billions of years, inside the hearts of countless stars, long before there was anyone here to receive what they made. As we move through it, let yourself feel, softly, how deeply you belong to this story, not as someone hearing about the universe from the outside, but as something the universe, very patiently, made. There is nothing to learn here by heart, and nothing to hold with any effort, only a slow and gentle chemistry lesson, taught by the stars themselves, meant only to ease you further down. In that brief first cooking after the beginning, the universe made only the very simplest of things, hydrogen, mostly, with some helium, and the barest trace of the next lightest element after that. Nearly everything else you can think of, every metal, every mineral, every breath of oxygen, every grain of carbon, did not yet exist anywhere in the whole of the young universe. It would take stars, entire generations of them, living and dying across billions of years, to slowly build up everything heavier from that first simple beginning. The universe started, in the truest sense, with almost nothing at all, and patiently, unhurriedly, built the rest. It is a gentle reminder that even the richest and most complicated things can begin from almost nothing, given enough time and enough patience to slowly grow. Deep inside every star, including our own steady sun, enormous pressure and heat fuse the simplest elements into slightly heavier ones, releasing the warm light that lets a star shine at all. Hydrogen becomes helium, and in larger stars, helium in time becomes carbon, and carbon becomes oxygen, each new element forged a little deeper inside the star's hot, patient furnace. It is the quietest kind of alchemy. There is no violence in the everyday process of it, only steady heat and steady pressure, slowly building the universe's chemistry one careful step at a time, inside star after star after star. It is happening, gently and steadily, inside countless stars at this very moment, the same unhurried alchemy that once, long ago, quietly built the warmth of our own sun. The very largest stars can carry this slow building further still, forging elements all the way up to iron, layer upon layer inside their cores, like the growing rings of a tree, each layer a slightly heavier element than the one before it. Iron marks a kind of quiet limit, forging anything heavier no longer releases warmth, and so, in the end, a giant star's core can build no further on its own. It has done, by then, an extraordinary work, carrying the chemistry of the universe many steps beyond where it began, patiently, gently, deep in its hidden, glowing heart. Layer upon patient layer, like the rings inside an old and quiet tree, each one marking another slow season of a star's long working life. To go beyond iron, to make the very heaviest elements of all, the gold, the silver, the precious metals scattered so sparingly through the universe, takes something far more sudden, the final, brilliant death of a massive star, or the still rarer meeting of two ancient, crushed stellar remnants colliding together. In that brief, tremendous flash, elements heavier than iron are forged all at once, and flung outward into space, seeding the dark with the last and rarest ingredients of cosmic chemistry. Every trace of gold that has ever been found on Earth was made, once, in some such distant and long-vanished violence, long before our own small world had even begun to form. Whatever you may own that gleams softly gold was, quite literally, born in one single, brilliant, ancient flash, billions of years before it ever came to rest quietly here. When a great star finally ends its life, everything it has forged across its long burning, the carbon, the oxygen, the iron, all of it, is released outward into the space around it, scattering slowly through the dark like seeds carried on a wind. Those scattered elements drift for ages, cooling and thinning, until they finally settle, or are gathered by gravity, into the great clouds from which new stars and new worlds will one day be born. Nothing a star makes is ever wasted. It is only released, patiently, back into the wider universe, to become part of whatever comes next. There is a quiet generosity in that final release, a whole star, giving back everything it ever gathered, so that something new might one day begin. Our own solar system was born 4.5 billion years ago, out of just such a cloud, enriched already with the elements forged by countless earlier generations of stars, long since ended, long since scattered. When our sun and its planets gathered themselves out of that cloud, they carried with them all of that inherited chemistry, the iron that would one day form the Earth's core, the oxygen that would one day fill its oceans and its air, the carbon that would one day become nearly everything alive upon it. We were built, quite literally, from the leftover ashes of stars that lived and died long before our sun was ever lit. Our entire solar system, in that sense, arrived already inherited, a quiet gift passed down from stars we will never know the names of. Every atom of iron carried in your blood was forged, long ago, deep inside the heart of some ancient and massive star, in a process that took place well before the Earth itself existed. Every atom of calcium in your bones, every atom of oxygen in your breath, was made the very same patient way, cooked slowly in stellar furnaces, or forged suddenly in some final stellar violence, and then scattered outward, and gathered, over billions of years, into the very world that raised you. You are not simply living upon a planet built from stardust. You are, yourself, quite literally, built from it. With every slow breath you take tonight, you are quietly moving atoms that have already outlived several stars, and have countless more quiet journeys still ahead of them. It is a strange and gentle thing to consider, as you rest here tonight, that the very atoms making up your body have traveled an almost unimaginable distance and time to arrive at this particular shape, however briefly. They have been part of stars, and part of the great clouds between stars, and part of the Earth, long before they were ever part of you, and they will, in time, return to be part of other things again. You are not a fixed and separate thing, but a temporary, quiet gathering, one brief and lovely arrangement, out of matter that has been patiently traveling and transforming since nearly the beginning of everything. There is a soft comfort in being only a temporary arrangement, rather than something that must hold its shape forever. It means you are allowed, tonight, simply to loosen and rest. Nor is this story finished. Stars are still forming tonight, in nebulae scattered across countless distant galaxies, and other stars are still ending, scattering their own hard-won elements back into the dark, adding quietly to the universe's slowly growing store of heavier chemistry. Somewhere out there, right now, the raw material for some future world's oceans, or some future creature's bones, is being patiently forged inside a star we will never see, to be scattered outward, gathered, and shaped, over billions of years yet to come, into something we cannot yet imagine. The universe's quiet chemistry class is still gently in session, tonight, in 1,000 scattered classrooms of gas and light, with no final exam and no need to hurry toward one. So when you consider your own body tonight, resting quietly here in the dark, consider it as something the whole universe took billions of years and countless stars to prepare, a slow, patient gathering of the oldest and most traveled ingredients there are, finely arranged for this one brief and precious while, into you. There is nothing separate about you from the great cosmic story we have followed tonight. You are its product and its continuation, and, for this quiet moment, its way of resting. Let every slow breath tonight feel like exactly that, the universe, gently resting inside its own long and patient handiwork. We have followed, now, the long and patient chemistry of the universe, from the simplest first elements to the iron in your blood and the calcium in your bones, forged across billions of years inside the hearts of countless stars. Let that thought settle over you gently as we move on, that you are not separate from any of this, but made from it, quite literally, down to your smallest atom. There is nothing to strive for in that thought, only something to rest inside, the quiet knowledge that you are already, entirely, and without any effort of your own, part of the oldest story there is. Every slow breath you take tonight is simply this old story, continuing softly, one more quiet moment at a time. And let us turn now toward what lies, gently, ahead. Now let us look, very softly, toward what lies ahead, not tonight, and not in any year that will ever concern you, but in the almost unimaginably distant future of the universe itself. There is nothing here to brace for. Everything we will speak of now lies so many billions upon billions of years away that it belongs to a future none of us, and none of our descendants for more generations than could ever be counted, will ever need to think about at all. We look at it only the way you might look, calmly, at the furthest and gentlest horizon on a clear day, not because you are going there tonight, but simply because it is lovely, and far, and calm, to consider. Let this whole chapter be the softest and slowest of all so far, its facts stretched out over spans of time so vast that even your own drifting thoughts will feel, by comparison, wonderfully brief and light. We have learned that the universe's expansion, rather than slowing under its own gravity as once might have been expected, is quietly speeding up, carried onward by that same mysterious dark energy we spoke of earlier. It means that, given enough time, an amount of time so large it barely deserves comparison to anything we know, the galaxies around us will drift ever further apart, ever faster than they are drifting even now. It is a slow and gentle process, unfolding across spans of time so vast that not the faintest trace of it will ever trouble a single ordinary lifetime, or 1,000, or 1,000,000 such lifetimes strung together. It is simply the universe continuing to breathe outward, softly, exactly as it has been breathing since its very first instant. In the extremely distant future, so far off that the number of years involved stops being meaningful in any everyday sense, the space between galaxies will have stretched so far that most other galaxies will have drifted beyond the reach of any light that could ever cross back to us. A future observer, unimaginably far ahead, might look up and see only their own galaxy, alone in an otherwise dark sky, with no way of even knowing that other galaxies had ever existed at all. It is a strange thought, though a distant and gentle one, so distant that it belongs to a future entirely separate from anything we, or our children, or their children's children, will ever need to witness. We are fortunate, in a quiet way, to be resting here so early, while the whole bright company of galaxies still fills our sky so generously. long before any of that, though, a mere few billion years from now, which is to say, still a very long time away, our own Milky Way and its great neighbor Andromeda will complete the slow merging their mutual gravity has been quietly arranging for billions of years already. The two galaxies will pass through one another so gently that scarcely a single star in either will ever collide, and will settle, over further ages, into one new and larger galaxy. It is a slow and graceful event, and one that will not disturb this night, or any night within any span of time you could ever need to consider. Even that great and ancient meeting, when it finally comes, will unfold as gently as two slow clouds drifting quietly together on a still and windless day. As the universe continues to age, the great clouds of gas from which new stars are born will slowly be used up, star by star, generation by generation, over trillions of years rather than billions. New stars will become rarer and rarer, and eventually, in the almost unfathomably distant future, the last new star of all will kindle, somewhere, and there will be no more raw material left for another. Even then, though, countless small, slow-burning red stars, the same faithful and modest stars we spoke of earlier, will continue to shine gently on for a very, very long while after that, patient to the very last. Long after every grander star has gone quiet, these smallest and most modest lights will still be softly glowing, keeping faith long after the more brilliant stars have finished their part. Eventually, given enough of this almost incomprehensible span of time, even those last patient stars will use up their fuel and quietly dim, leaving behind only their cooling embers, the small, dense remnants of stars that once shone, drifting now in a darkening universe, radiating away their last warmth over spans of time longer than the entire history of the universe up to tonight, repeated over and over, many times across. It is not a sudden dimming, but the gentlest and slowest fading imaginable, so unhurried that no single era of it could ever feel like an ending while it was happening. Even the very last light, when it finally comes, will fade the way a candle fades toward morning, softly, gradually, and entirely without alarm. In time, further still, even black holes, those patient, dark anchors we found at the hearts of galaxies, are thought to very slowly radiate away, evaporating so gradually that the timescales involved make even the age of stars look sudden by comparison. It is one of the strangest and gentlest ideas in all of cosmology that even the most permanent-seeming things eventually, softly, let go, dissolving not in violent but in the quietest imaginable trickle, across spans of time that make the whole history of the universe so far look like a single, brief breath. Even the darkest and most patient things there are, it seems, eventually loosen their hold, and drift, quietly, away. All of this points toward an extremely distant future sometimes called, gently, the long, cold quiet, a state in which the universe has spread so wide, and cooled so far, and used up so much of its light, that very little continues to happen within it at all. But this is so far away, so many multiples of the universe's current age away, that it carries no real weight for us tonight, or for any night that will ever matter to anyone we know or love. It belongs to a future so distant it is almost more of an idea than a true event, a soft and far-off horizon, rather than a real and looming shore. Even that quiet horizon, so distant it barely counts as real, sounds, when you hold it gently, less like an ending and more like the deepest rest there could ever be. It is worth remembering, gently, as we speak of such distant futures, just how much time remains before any of it could ever touch us. Our own sun alone has some 5 billion years of steady shining left to give, longer than the whole history of life on Earth so far. And the long, slow processes of stellar fading and dimming stretch on far beyond that, for trillions upon trillions of years more. There is, in truth, so much time ahead of us, so much more than has even passed already, that the very idea of an ending feels, held at this distance, almost entirely without weight. You may set down any thought of endings now, tonight, and simply let it rest, unneeded, somewhere far outside this quiet room. So rather than a future to be braced against, consider this instead: an almost endless stretch of time still lies ahead, far longer than anything that has come before it, in which stars will keep shining, in which new worlds may yet form, in which countless quiet nights like this one may yet unfold, on ours or on other worlds we will never know. The distant fading of the universe is real, but it is so far off, and so gentle in its unfolding, that it changes nothing about tonight, or any night that could ever concern you. There is so much more soft night still ahead, for so many more sleepers yet to come, that this one small ending, so far away, need not touch you at all. Let the far future, then, settle over you not as a weight, but as a kind of reassurance, the knowledge that everything ends only very, very gently, only very, very slowly, over spans of time so vast that no single creature, no single world, no single worry, was ever meant to carry it. You are here now, in the fullness of the universe's middle age, long after its beginning and unfathomably long before any of its distant fading. There is nothing but time ahead of you tonight, soft, abundant, unhurried time, exactly enough to let go, completely, into rest. We have looked, now, as gently as we could, toward the far and distant future of everything, the slow drifting apart of galaxies, the last stars quietly dimming, the long, cold quiet so many trillions of years away that it need never trouble a single night of your life. There is nothing to carry from it but calm, the knowledge that endings, on this scale, are so slow and so soft that they are barely endings at all, only the longest and gentlest of settlings. Let that same soft settling take you now, a little further down. And let us turn, at last, back toward yourself, and toward home. And now we come, gently, to the last of our 100 wonders, not out among the far galaxies, or forward into the distant future, but back here, to this quiet room, and to you. By now, perhaps, your eyes have already closed, perhaps you have drifted off somewhere among the stars, and these words are only a soft murmur at the edge of sleep. That is exactly as it should be. There is nothing left to do now but let go of the day, of your thoughts, of your very hold on waking. As we speak, softly, of your own small and precious place in all of this vastness, let it grow gentle and warm and near, and let yourself sink, at last, all the way down into rest. Everything we have traveled through tonight, the stretching space, the ancient light, the great dark web, the unseen matter, the deep and patient time, was only ever a long, slow way of arriving here, at this last and softest thought of all. Everything we have wondered at tonight, the expanding space, the ancient light, the great web of galaxies, the unseen matter and unseen energy, the deep and patient time, the slow forging of every element, all of it, in the end, gathered itself, however briefly, into you. You are not a visitor to the universe, watching it from some separate place outside. You are made of the very same hydrogen forged in its first minutes, the very same heavier elements forged later inside dying stars, arranged now, for this one quiet while, into someone capable of wondering about all of it. The universe did not simply make you. In a very real sense, it became you, for a time. Every soft breath you take tonight is the universe, quietly and gently, breathing. There is a soft way of putting this that many have reached for, because it says something true and gentle at once. You are one of the ways the universe has found to become aware of itself. For 13 billion years, the universe unfolded in complete silence, with no eye anywhere to notice its own galaxies, its own light, its own slow and patient becoming. And then, very recently, in the barest sliver of all that time, matter arranged itself into creatures capable of looking up and wondering and asking what it all might mean. You, tonight, lying quietly in the dark, are the universe pausing, however briefly, to notice itself. That noticing does not need to be sharp, or wakeful, or effortful. It can be as soft and as sleepy as it is right now, and it counts, completely, just the same. Consider, gently, just how much had to happen, patiently and in order, before this quiet moment could exist at all. Space had to begin, and stretch. The first light had to clear. Stars had to gather, and shine, and die, seeding space with elements that did not exist at the very beginning. Further stars had to gather those elements into worlds. And one particular world had to settle into exactly the right calm, and warmth, and chemistry, for something like you to arise, and rest, and wonder. None of it was rushed. All of it, patiently, arrived, so that this one quiet night might happen. 13 billion years of careful, unhurried preparation, all so that you might, tonight, simply lie still and breathe. And yet, however much had to happen, none of it should feel like a burden resting on you now. You do not need to justify, or earn, or prove anything in order to belong to this story. You already belong to it, completely, simply by existing within it. The universe did not build you towards some task you must now perform. It built you the way it built everything else, patiently, gently, out of the raw materials at hand, and what you do with this one quiet, borrowed evening is entirely, softly, up to you. Tonight, the kindest thing you can do with it is simply rest. There is no scoreboard anywhere in the cosmos keeping count of what you managed today, and no star waiting to judge how well you used this one small evening. There is only rest, offered freely, and yours simply to accept. Everyone who has ever lived on this small world shared this same vast origin with you, the same first light, the same ancient elements, the same 13 billion years of patient becoming behind every single life that has ever been lived. Every person who has ever looked up at a night sky, in wonder or in worry or simply in passing, was looking at the very same universe that is holding you now, made of the very same ancient stardust, carried by the very same unhurried expansion. You have never, for a single moment, been separate from any of it, or from anyone else who has ever rested beneath it. Every sleeper who has ever closed their eyes beneath any sky at all was held, in the end, by exactly this same wide and patient universe. It is worth resting, too, in how improbable this whole quiet moment truly is, not as a source of anxious wonder, but as a source of soft and grateful calm. Given the vastness of space, and the vastness of time, and the particular and unlikely chain of events that had to unfold in just the right order for you to exist at all, your being here tonight, breathing slowly in the dark, is a genuinely rare and precious occurrence. And yet here you are, entirely and simply real, held gently by a universe that took 13 billion years of patient work to arrange this one small, ordinary, extraordinary night. Of all the ways this evening could have gone unmade, it did not, and so, quietly, and without needing to do anything at all to deserve it, here you softly are. The universe does not need you to understand it in order for it to hold you. It was holding galaxies together and stretching quietly outward and forging elements inside distant stars long before there was anyone here to notice, and it will go on doing so whether you are awake to it or not. There is a deep relief in that thought. If you let it settle, you do not need to grasp any of what we have spoken of tonight, or remember a single fact, in order to remain exactly as safely held as you have always been. Understanding was never the price of belonging. You belonged to all of this before you ever learned a single word of it, and you will belong to it just the same tomorrow, whether or not you remember a single thing we have said tonight. So let this room, tonight, be understood as simply one more small and gentle corner of everything we have traveled through, not separate from the great expanding universe, not smaller or less real than any galaxy or any star, but simply another quiet part of the very same unfolding story. The same space that stretches between the furthest galaxies stretches, too, between the walls of this room. The same ancient light that fills the whole of the sky falls, faintly, even here. You have never left the universe, not for a single moment of your life. You have only ever rested more closely inside one small, familiar corner of it. There is no boundary at your window, and no wall of your room, that truly separates you from the vast dark we have traveled through together tonight. Whatever you carried into this night, whatever thought, or worry, or small unfinished piece of the day, you may set it down now, gently, the way a star, at the end of its long life, finally releases its outer layers into the dark, without violence, without regret, simply letting go because the time for holding on has quietly passed. None of it needs you to hold it any longer tonight. Let it drift away the way starlight drifts outward into the dark, still traveling, still real, but no longer anything you need to carry. You may rest now, completely, exactly as you are. Nothing you set down tonight is lost, it simply drifts on ahead of you, gently, the way all old light drifts on, needing nothing further from you at all. So let the universe keep expanding, softly, exactly as it has for nearly 14 billion years, and exactly as it will for longer than any mind could ever hold. There is nothing left to do tonight. There is nowhere left to be, and nothing left to solve, and no distance left to cross. The galaxies will keep their slow and patient drifting. The ancient light will keep on falling, gently, from every corner of the sky. The unseen matter and the unseen energy will keep their quiet, patient work, holding and stretching, exactly as they always have. The stars will keep forming, somewhere, in some far and gentle nebula, and other stars will keep ending, scattering their quiet gifts back into the dark, exactly as they have since long before you arrived, and exactly as they will long after. And you may let go of all of it now, every thought, every task, every last small weight of the day, and let your breathing slow, and let your body grow heavy and warm, and let your eyes close, and drift down, gently and without any effort at all, into sleep, safe beneath the oldest light there is. The universe will keep you. The universe has always kept you. Sleep now. Good night. The universe keeps expanding, whether we watch or not. There is nothing more you need to hear, and nothing more you need to do. If you are still awake, even a little, let these last few words be the softest of all, spoken not to keep you here, but only to walk you gently to the doorway of sleep, and to leave you there, safe, and warm, and held. The galaxies will keep their slow and patient courses through the dark. The ancient light will keep on falling, exactly as it has for nearly 14 billion years, exactly as it will for billions more. And you have your small, warm place within it, nothing you must earn, nothing you must hold on to, simply your place, given freely, among the oldest light there is. So rest now, as deeply as you like. Let the last of the words dissolve into the music, and the music dissolve into the quiet, and the quiet carry you the rest of the way down. And whenever you wish to wander among the stars again, they will be here, patient and shining and unhurried, waiting quietly in the dark for you to return. There is nothing left to do now. Nothing to think about. Nothing to solve, and nothing to remember, and nowhere at all to be. Let your body stay exactly as heavy as it is, sinking just a little deeper with each slow breath out. With every breath, a little heavier. With every breath, a little further down. There is no bottom to reach and no effort to make, only the soft, slow settling, like a single mote of stardust drifting down through still and quiet water, turning gently, in no hurry at all to land. Let go of the day now, completely. Whatever it held, the things that went well, the things that did not, the words you said and the words you didn't, let all of it grow quiet, and small, and far away, like a single galaxy seen from the very edge of the observable universe, a faint smudge of light, and then, gently, nothing at all. None of it needs you now. None of it is asking anything of you. You may set it all down and leave it in the dark, and simply rest. And if there is any last small thread of thought still turning somewhere in your mind, you do not need to cut it, or chase it, or push it away. Just let it loosen, on its own, the way everything loosens here, the way galaxies loosen from their filaments, the way old starlight loosens from a dying sun and drifts off, at last, into the dark, the way the whole universe itself has been loosening, softly, since its very first instant. Everything, in the end, lets go. And so, now, softly, may you remember, if it helps you drift, that you are made of the oldest things there are, the same hydrogen forged in the universe's first minutes, the same patient elements forged later inside dying stars, arranged, for this one brief and precious while, into someone capable of resting, and dreaming, and beginning again tomorrow. You do not need to hold on to that thought either. Let it, too, dissolve gently into the dark, its work already done. Let your breathing carry you the rest of the way. In and out. In and slowly out. Each breath a little slower. Each one a little deeper. Down and gently down. The stars are keeping watch. The universe is holding you. There is nothing you need to guard, and nothing you need to keep. You are safe. You are warm. You are held. And you may let yourself go, all the way, now, into sleep. Sleep now. You are held. Good night, and sleep well, exactly as gently and as completely as the whole vast, patient universe has always intended for you.